All right, so lately I've been bombarded with all this content saying that college is a scam.
I was 14 years old and I was like, college is a scam.
Can we talk about how the biggest finesse of all time is college in the United States?
Don't go to college. Today, don't go to college. It's the worst thing you can do.
That's why college is a scam.
So after seeing so many of these, I decided to take a deep dive and answer the question, is college a scam nowadays? And what I found is pretty interesting. Now in this video, I'm going to talk about the history of college degrees, arguments against going to college, ROIs for different major, and the demand for degrees versus the demand for no degrees. And what I found may shock you. So if you want to know my findings, just stick around for the whole video because it takes some twists and turns. But first, I just wanted to thank my new subscribers. My last video was about the high prices and high inflation that we've been seeing. So just thank you to all those who subscribe because it really helps out the channel and it helps me make these videos. All right, I'm just going to say this up front. So if you take anything away from this video, just have it be this. We need to prepare kids a lot better than we are now. I'm talking about educating high schoolers before they go into college about their choices that can affect them for the rest of their life. Whether that be parents or high school itself, some actual programs in school, we need to help kids understand these college loan system. We also need to teach them basic finances. I've just seen too many examples of people online who say that they have over 100, 200,000 of student loans and they're making 60 grand a year when that could have been avoided possibly if some information was laid out to them in the first place. So let's check out this guy's story real quick before we get into all the data.
This is incredibly hard for me to talk about and I am beyond embarrassed about it, but I guess it's time. So I have $147,000 of student loan debt, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not a lawyer, I went to culinary school. I was 17 years old when I was choosing what school I should be going to, and I had no guidance from my parents. My parents do not know how to handle money, they don't know how to manage money, they're irresponsible, and they're very defeated people, so they're in the mindset of just go into debt because you'll never win with money anyways. So 17-year-old me, who had no idea what I was doing, really no guidance from my parents, I decided to go to the best of the best because I thought if I go to the best school and I work hard, I will then end up with a great life. And that was an absolute lie. So I decided to go to the Culinary Institute of America and I racked up over $130,000 in student loan debt for a 3-year bachelor's degree, which, if I'm being honest, and it's my opinion, I feel I was completely ripped off. I think it's absolutely criminal to take naive, hopeful 17 or 18-year-olds going to culinary school thinking they'll be the next one with the TV show because they're going to this fancy school when it is an absolute lie.
Now, this is a prime example of somebody who had no guidance, whether from a parent or a student or a counselor, in choosing what to do after high school. Now, maybe he would have made a different decision if he had more information laid out to him before signing up for all these huge loans. That's what makes it even more important to be informed when going into college or not going into college or going to community college. There's a lot of options and everyone is different. It's just important for adults to teach kids about loans, interest payments, even just basic general finances. It needs to be more upfront for when kids and people are making decisions on where to go to school, what major to get, and things like that. Let's look at one more example and then we're going to get on to some of the stats.
I have over $80,000 in debt as a 23-year-old. I have about $50,000 to $60,000 in student loans, about $15,000 to $20,000 in credit card debt, and about $5,000 to $6,000 in medical debt from having my gallbladder removed last year. As a 23-year-old making $51,000 a year, it's obviously very daunting trying to pay off this amount of debt, especially with how insane interest rates have been on my student loans and everything, and minimum payments and things like that. I just spent willy-nilly, like in college and stuff, and racked up credit card debt and needed loans to help get me through each semester and everything like that. So it is just added up. And now I'm done with school and luckily I'm living at home and I'm so grateful for that. But my goal is to pay all of this off as soon as possible, hopefully within the next couple years, so it doesn't take me until I'm 40 years old to buy a house or anything like that. So I'm using this to hold me accountable because I buy stupid shit.
So it seems like she has the right approach. She understood that in college, she kind of was just messing around, racking up credit card debt, not really taking things seriously. And that's another thing. If you're going to college, take it seriously. Like, don't just mess around and not get the best out of it, especially if you're paying a lot of money. All right, so before we get into some stats, I do want to talk about this interesting article that I found, which is why so many jobs started requiring college degrees that didn't before. The story of college requirement creep begins back in the 1980s as employers started to hire globally for workers in tech automation, starting to change the nature of many domestic jobs in America. As routinized factory work began to be replaced by machines or outsourced to other countries, one consequence was a shift towards expecting workers to handle more social tasks with so-called soft skills that facilitate collaboration, like conscientiousness and the ability to make small talk. So I guess conversations at the water cooler have become way more important since the 1980s. But I think this is really interesting because as the dynamic of the economy changed and technology changed, the workforce had to change and it adapted. So I also found this chart, which is actually really, really interesting. It's the wage premium for workers with bachelor's degrees or higher. You notice where you get that inflection point starting up? Yeah, 1980s, like we just talked about. So the premium for workers with bachelor's degree increased a lot. I mean, it looks like it basically doubled in the last 40 years. So it's been creeping along. But ever since maybe like 2017, it peaked at around 70%, and it looks like it's going down. I don't have stats for maybe 2024, but this may be a sign that the bachelor degree isn't as premium of a look than it was in the past, at least in the past 5, 6, 7 years. So then I wanted to look up the ROI for going to college on a huge scale, on kind of like the average or a median. So I looked at this study of 5.8 million Americans, and it finds that a college degree yields a significant return on investment. A college education is expected to yield an annual rate of 9 to 10% throughout an individual's career. Now, on a grander scale, it's looking like getting a college degree is generally good. You get a pretty decent return on your money. But as you saw in the previous TikToks, there are definitely ways where you can get a huge, gigantic negative return. So you just gotta understand and weigh the options that you have in order to make the best decision for you as an individual. What I also thought was interesting was that the study found that while rates of return remained strong from 2009 to 2021, they declined modestly over the period. When broken into 3 periods, the rates of return dropped from 10.12% for women and 9.33% for men in the 2009 to 2012 to 9.48% and 8.83% respectively from 2017 to 2020. So just kind of like the stat that we showed earlier, that premium is losing out more and more as we go. Now, this slight decline is likely attributed to the increasing college costs of expenses compared to the earnings growth of college graduates relative to that of high school graduates. I mean, the cost of university has increased dramatically in the past 5 decades. In this chart, you can see that public in-state tuition for a year was $390 in 1970, as compared to $9,750 today. What's also pretty crazy is back in the 70s, it was $1,700 to go to school for a year in a private school. Now, it's around $38,000 a year for a private school. All right, before I get into the arguments against going to college, and there's quite a few, and some of them have legs and some of them don't, but we'll get into that. Before I do that, I do want to look at the unemployment rates for high school graduates versus college graduates. Now, that light blue line there is if you have a high school diploma. So the higher the percentage, the higher the line, the more unemployment there is. So this is a really good graph because it really shows that the light blue line, which are people who have a high school diploma, have way higher unemployment rates than people who have a bachelor's degree with the darker line. Now, they stayed pretty steady throughout the years, but it looks like if you have just a high school diploma, you're about twice as likely to be unemployed than someone who does have a bachelor's degree. Now, what I thought was really interesting was during the 2008 to 2011-12 Great Recession, the unemployment rate for college graduates went from 2 to 5, but the high school graduates went from about 4 to 11. So it seems like during tough times, college graduates are way less likely to be unemployed than those who don't. All right, so there are three main ones that I want to go over, which the first one being, if you're not in engineering, STEM, or being a doctor, you should never go to college. And in fact, those people who are usually saying that usually have a course to shill at the end on how to make money online for drop shipping and blah, 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 all that. And usually they're talking about how you need to become an entrepreneur to be successful and all this stuff. I mean, how many Timmys have you seen down the street who are developing an app in their garage and they're taking meetings from Starbucks and they seem all busy? I mean, most of those people are just wasting time too. I mean, the entrepreneurial route can be highly rewarding, but these guys usually have this huge blanket statement saying that you shouldn't go to college because of those reasons. When the fact is, a lot of people like the structure and also probably need the structure in order to study and get things done. That route just suits a lot of people and can be beneficial. Now, the second argument to not go to college is people will say, don't go to college, just go to trade school. Now, before you angrily start typing at me, I want to preface what I'm saying with the trades are amazing. If you want to do that and you're good at that kind of stuff, you should definitely do it. That return is probably a lot better than a lot of majors too. And the demand is really high and you could a lot of the times get a lot of overtime. So if you're one of these people who could work 50, 60 hours in a week, those jobs are really good. If you're good at those things and interested, you should for sure do trades. I mean, plumbers, electrician, and welders and more, they're the backbone of the country and they are in high demand. I'm arguing against the fact that that's a solution for most people. It's just not. So although that's a good counter argument to not going to a major institution for some people, for the majority of people, it just isn't. Now, I know I'm going to get anecdotal instances of people saying that they're an electrician and they make 150 grand a year. And the fact is, a lot of the median salaries for some of these trades just aren't as lucrative as people make them seem. I mean, electricians are making 60 grand, HVAC mechanics and installers are making a median of 51. Not to mention that the average tuition and fees for trade schools can be up to like 15 grand is the average. I'm sure you can find ones that are way cheaper. And that's probably what you should do. You should go to a really good one that has a good value. And then the last one, I just see a lot of these stats saying that most job postings now don't even require a college degree. So I went digging around and I found this graph and it shows education requirements and job postings by sector. Now, the gray and pink are basically high school and below. You don't need a college degree for these kinds of jobs. And the green and blue, you need some college or a bachelor's. Notice all the top ones. You notice those are all the high paying ones. And I know like people are saying that, but some of these kind of don't even make sense either. It's saying for electrical engineering, 60%, it looks like around 60% don't even need a bachelor's degree. I just don't think that's true. I don't know if people are getting this stat, like most jobs don't need these high jobs, these high paying jobs absolutely need it. Accounting, it's looking like only 50% of job openings. I mean, notice the bottom half. We have food prep and service, cleaning, driving, construction. Construction's a good one. Now, this stat that most job postings don't even need a college degree, therefore don't go to college, I'm not quite buying it. I mean, if this graph is really reflecting that and this is true, I don't even know if this is accurate. Mathematics, jobs don't need any sort of college degree or some college. I don't know if that's even true. All right, so the last thing I want to talk about is kind of the sweet spot when going to college. Going to community college could be a great tool in finding the things that you like. If you don't know what you want to do, it could be a good way to find out what you like without breaking the bank. I mean, if what these people are saying about not needing a college degree for a lot of these jobs, you can literally just go try to do that and take night classes at community college. So if it does work out and you are able to excel and move up the rankings without a college degree, then you did it. And if it doesn't really work out or you don't like what you're doing, you're still taking classes in the background at community college and moving through that process. Now, you don't have to do the community college route, although I think it is a good one, especially you're saving a lot of money. But another really good way is the 4-year in-state tuition. You can see that it's the cheaper option. It's less than 10 grand per year, which means you're probably living at home. So it's a college nearby. If you have that luxury is probably good. And that's also a great way to get a good value for the degree that you're getting. Now, what is crazy to me is the 4-year in-state and 4-year out-of-state tuition differences. You're basically paying 3x to go out of state. So unless you're doing a super specialized thing and you know for a fact that you are not only good, but you absolutely want to do that field for an out-of-state specific school, you probably should definitely do the in-state because that's a lot better value for what you're going to get. So let's wrap up some final thoughts. Number 1, you should definitely go to college on these high ROI, high demand, high skill majors: engineering, being a doctor, maybe probably even finances, accounting. Those high skill jobs, you obviously need a degree for, so you obviously should go to college for that. But nobody's really arguing against that, so that's kind of like a null one. So if you're going into non-STEM degrees like business or communications, etc., you should get familiar with the price of the school you're going to, the return you're probably going to get. To try to understand the industry that you're getting in, do research before signing up for these huge loans. Number 3, if you don't know what you want to do by the end of high school and you don't have much guidance either, you can go to community college. It's a great affordable way to start your higher education while not breaking the bank, and also gives you a little bit of time, a little bit of cushion before you make these huge decisions. It also gives you a chance to try out these things that all these people are saying you don't need college degrees for. Just go try it out while you're taking the classes, and I think you're going to be way better off. And number 4, the last one, because I know people are going to be typing at me, trades are good. If you want to do trades or you think you're good at it, at least try it out because I think that is a pretty good ROI if you excel at it. If you don't like it or you're not good at that stuff, don't do the trades. Although they are in high demands, I would not do them. So that's that. Now, I want to give you guys one of the craziest resources I've ever seen, which is the estimated earnings and lifetime ROI for 30,000 bachelor degrees. Somebody did a full ROI data set for all these institutions and majors, and it is one of the most comprehensive lists and impressive things I've ever seen. So if you are in this position or you're just curious, I linked it down below to the Google Sheet. And here's a fun fact from that sheet. You probably shouldn't plan to major in anthropology or ethnic, cultural, minority, gender, and group studies at Harvard. You're netting negative $500,000 with those things. So just saying. All right, so that's it for the end of this video. Now, I hope this was comprehensive enough. There's just a lot of variables, and I want to, again, drive home. Everyone is different. You can't be throwing out these blanket statements for people because people will take it and run with it and maybe not think about it as much as they should. So I'm sure I'm going to get some comments. So just comment down below. I'll respond. We'll see. And I'll see you in the next one.